Juno, aka Space Ranger, is finally here. Are they any good? Are they well designed? Well, let's find out. So, I've played a little bit of a Juno recently. I had to play a couple this morning so I can get some actual footage because the queues were really long on Friday, but they're a lot more manageable now. This is filmed on the last day of the trial period, so I've gotten some time to play not only as Juno, but very often against Juno and with Juno, right? So as other characters. So I'm going to break down kind of my thoughts about what I think about this character now. But first, let's talk about what I thought about this character initially. When I first saw this kit, I was kind of a little, how do I say, confused, or really thinking they might be lacking something. I thought their kit was a lot of, in theory, healing and damage, and obviously the speed boost is there. But I didn't really see much more. I didn't really see on paper why you would pick this character over a Lucio or any other kind of main support. Maybe try to pick her over a Kiri or something. I didn't really see it. I've now played Juno, and I'm still struggling to find her actual niche, but I think I'm starting to piece together a playstyle that might be worthwhile to look at. But let's just go ahead. We're going to break down some stuff one by one, just kind of the things I thought were good. I'm going to call the series The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, just because for the fun name. But when I say bad, it's not really like super bad. It's more of like whatever, iffy. And then the ugly is probably more like the bad, just so you know when I say that. So we're going to start with the good. I have a lot of good. I think this character is a very good power level. I think they're very balanced, and none of their abilities seem broken at all. There's no one thing, like everything. Honestly, all of their abilities have a really good amount of power to them. That is not overbearing. It is not bad. You know what I mean? It's a very good level. I'm really, really glad that we have a character that is coming out. I think they're probably the best balance. Maybe Venture has something to say about that. Best balanced character right off the bat from Overwatch 2. So that's very, very positive. I talked about earlier. I think this is a good thing that we can't figure out her place in the meta yet. Just because a lot of times you'll see a character and you're like, that's their niche. That's what they do. This is how you'll use them. Whatever, right? I think with Space Ranger, I think this character is going to take a lot of time to truly figure out what we do. Like, how to play her the most effectively. There's a lot of risk and reward with her. She's very mobile, very flanky, but you have to kind of figure out when it's worth it to flank because her escape options aren't nearly as good as other characters, maybe like a Moira or a Kiriko. Her speed boost, I think, is less, consistent than Lucio's speed boost, so she isn't necessarily just like a Lucio replacement. I think she has to find her niche there as well. Just stuff like that. I think it's really interesting to have a character that we don't really know where her strong suit is going to be. I can see that being a negative later on, where it's just kind of like, why would I play her over any other character? And I'll talk about something that could really help fix that later, but for the most part, I'm really excited about that kind of prospect. So this is an aim-based support for the most part. Obviously, they have the ability that is the auto-aim, but they're aim-based. Most of their damage and their healing comes from skill. And that is great, right? It makes the character more fun to play, I think, when you're actively aiming while you're making your decisions. And it also means that there is going to be some kind of skill curve to this character about with your aim. And, of course, the decision-making you'll make with your abilities, like all characters. But it's just another factor that can show, like, I am better at this character than other characters or other people, because maybe my aim is really good, right? Like, that could be a factor that makes your version of Space Ranger Juno stand out to other to other people's. Great, all the time, expression, lovely, all the buzzwords. I think that healing fall off is really interesting. I assumed that Space Ranger would just play on like super far angles and heal her team and all of that, but that's not the case. She actually plays much closer to a core than you may think that she does. Why is my footage Oh my god, my footage is corrupting before my eyes. Anyways, I think she plays a lot closer to the team than you would think that she does, right? She does play a little bit off her own, on her angle, but she is going to be much closer because of that healing fall off. If you want the most, what's it called? The most healing for your team, you have to play closer. But if you're not the healer kind of in that team, you're allowed to get deeper and a little more flanky on the offensive. Again, that adds to the decision making of this character, that adds to the potential pairings you can make with this character, right? Because you, in order to play that role of like the flanker, you have to give up some of your other pressure like that. That's really interesting. I think that's really cool. That's why, again, like, we don't really know what's the most effective for Space Ranger, because she has a lot of dynamics that I think we didn't really see initially. So I'm a really big fan of that healing fall off overall. With her mobility, she has a lot of different mobility options, right? She has a double jump, she has the speed boost she can give to her team, and she has the speed boost / flight thing that she can give to herself, right? I didn't really understand the vision right away with how these kind of worked or how they should be used together. The more that I have played this character, and you might have noticed it while I'm playing, is that I think her movement abilities make her kind of like Diet Tracer, to be honest with you. When you play Tracer, right, you have 3 blanks, you take a duel. When they look at you, start attacking, they'll look at you. That's your cue to blink, right? Then you'll shoot them, and they'll turn around to try and find you. That's your cue to blink, right? I think that is kind of how you can use Space Ranger. Just to a lesser extent, her damage is lower, her options are not as good overall as Blink's. But, you know, like, if you're taking a duel, you know, you start from an angle, you start with the right click, and people don't know you're there, so you can get it on. You do like 75 burst, then you start shooting, they look at you, then you can speed boost and get to another angle, and they'll be able to find you, but the second they try and hit you with an ability, you can double jump and then kind of throw them off and keep going. And then once they're prepared, like, I'm going to deal with the double jump, now I'm going to use the other speed boost one and either take the duel or try and get out, right? I think that brings a lot of skill expression with movement into her kit and allows her to be this kind of duelist if she wants to, but she's not going to be nearly as effective as a regular DPS or like a Kiriko or a Moira. And again, I'm a little concerned about, like, you know, where is her place if she's not going to be like a Kiriko or a Moira power. But I think for the most part, Overwatch players are really going to appreciate that this support doesn't do everything. Right? That she is not super good and better than DPS. I do not see a world where this character can be a better dueler than a DPS, right? And I'm really, really excited about that. Again, there's just a lot of skill and decision-making with her mobility that I didn't really see when I was first playing her, but the more that I was really getting into it, I think that is really more how she is going to play. Also, obviously, with more movement abilities, you can kind of choose when you get out earlier, if you want to use them to engage, if you want to use them just for mid-fight. There's a lot to it. I think it's really, really interesting. All right. Another thing, I'm going to skip this one real quick. She has lots of shields. She doesn't have direct survivability like a get-out-of-jail-free mobility tool because hers are not really, like, bursty or invulnerable. And she also doesn't have a way to heal herself. So to compensate, she's got a really large shield pool. And I think that's really great because it encourages you to play on an angle, but it doesn't encourage you to play recklessly, right? It encourages you to play aggressive, but you have to be careful with it because your survivability only comes after you have gotten yourself to safety. And you don't have anything that will get you to safety for free, right? So there's a lot to it. Her uptime can be very high, but you can't be over aggressive with it. Again, that's great. I think that is a great idea that they've come up with. It's a good middle ground to allow the support to be survivable, but still encourage skillful play and also encourage counterplay. Amazing. Also, last thing, I don't think I've really heard anyone talking about this so far. Her visual effects, so her ring that she makes and the ultimate, are some of the least distracting abilities in the game. Look at this. You actually see the thing here. There's barely any particle effects. The ring itself is pretty small. You can't, they're basically visual clutter. It's great. They've done a really good job making it easy to read what the ability is, but also make it so that it is not incredibly annoying, blocking line of sight, all in the way. I think her ultimate also does a really good job of this. Obviously, there's more to it, but when you're actually in the ultimate, sometimes, and this might even be a bad thing, I can't really tell when I'm in the ultimate sometimes, or that when the enemy has the ultimate down, because they have really focused on that visual design of not making it so in your face, like I can't see anything, like Simwall and Kiriko ult and all of those that really have lots of big particle effects, right? I think that's really great. More of that, please. I really hope that they continue to put a lot of effort into making sure that the visual design of the game is still readable, because that is definitely a complaint lots of people have been having for years and years and years and years with Overwatch. And that is a lot of the good. I'm very positive on this character so far, especially the more that I got to play her. I was having more and more fun trying to figure out, like, limit testing, trying to figure out where this character can be used effectively. As in terms of the bad, I do think that the dash ability, the one, where you're flying, you're only horizontal, it did feel a little clunky sometimes. I kind of understand why they wouldn't let her descend during it, just because that's kind of like the fun thing about it, is that you're stuck on one plane. But it did kind of suck when you're trying to get through like a doorway or a ramp or something, if it goes downwards and you have to cancel it because of that. I don't know what they would really want. If they want to keep it so that it's only horizontal, I can definitely see why they would want to do that. But I think if they let you descend with crouch, I don't think that's the end of the world. I think the really hard thing you have to deal with is horizontal or vertical, like upwards mobility, that is something you really have to make sure you're keeping an eye on, Pharah in particular. So speaking of the keeping an eye on upward mobility, I did feel like, I don't know, intuitively it felt to me like when you activated the dash, it should have given you your double jump back. I don't know why it felt like it should have. Maybe there's something else that was making my brain think that. I think it would allow her to get higher, because as it stands, even though she does have a double jump, she really can't get very vertical. It is kind of difficult. Like, she has to use the environment a lot, which is fun. Like, you'll see a lot of times in this footage where I'm kind of scanning around, like, where can I get myself higher so that I'm on like a higher plane when I use my ability. So maybe, again, that's one of those things that's like, I wouldn't be mad if they didn't give her double jump after, like, another double jump so she can keep going. It might actually make her movement too crazy. But it did just kind of feel like it should be there. I'm not sure how you balance this. Again, it was interesting trying to use the environment to get vertical mobility instead of just having it off of double jump twice, right? And then also the ultimate here, for such a mobile character, the ultimate being so small and moving really slow was a little strange to me. I know it's really more for a whole team value, but, a lot of times I felt like I would just kind of abandon the ultimate because we needed to play much faster. I mean, like, she is a speed character. She gives her team speed, and then a lot of times you would kind of be like, well, now I can't really use my ult because they were able to get away from it. You know what I mean? Or, like, I use my ult to clear some space and I have to, like, abandon it very quickly. I don't think that's inherently a problem. I think it's good decision making as well, about, like, when you give up the ult and when you don't. But I think more times than not, I felt like we wanted to keep the tempo up and the ult just would not keep up with what we were trying to do. So I'm not exactly sure. I don't think I would want it to go faster. I think that would be crazy. But it's just something interesting. to think about kind of like what is the choice here. It is fun for Space Ranger herself to kind of weave in and out of it and try and min-max when she has the damage boost. I think that's the idea that we're going for, and to be honest with you, that's really cool. I think that's a good idea. I don't think we really have something like that. You know, Kiriko Ult doesn't really work like that. So yeah, that's why I'm saying like these aren't like really bad options. They're just kind of like, I don't know if I necessarily always agree with the choices, but I see where they're coming from with what they've done with these, right? That's kind of what I was thinking. And now I have the ugly category. I really only have, it's like 1.5 things in here. I do think that she should be able to headshot, mainly because I have written down here, she doesn't really have a big like moment, like a big playmaking potential, right? She doesn't have a knockback ability. She doesn't have like a super savior ability. I think that just kind of makes her gameplay loop feel a little flat, even though she is fun overall. There's no like peaks to her gameplay, right? It's a lot of, it's really flat. I don't know how to say, like, if there was a graph about like how much fun and impact and variety you had, compared to how, you know, the time played, hers would be very flat, and something like Lucio or really most characters are going to have like little hills where it's like, okay, I just hit a really good knockback and I got a kill. I just had a really good Suzu and I was able to survive, right? I hit a really good ability, stuff like that. I don't really think Space Ranger has that. And again, her fun level is pretty high compared to a lot of other characters that I would say are like this, kind of like a Moira or a Mercy. But I do think there should be a little more to it. And in my mind, that would come with a headshot, right? If she had less damage overall and would be able to be headshot, again, it brings more skill, it makes her more fun, but it also is just like, you know, it gives her more of a mini game to play. It gives her more variety about like how she's playing. It's just stuff like that, right? It makes the moment to moment more interesting and gives it a couple more dynamics overall. So again, I kind of struggle to call it really like a bad thing, but I would say like I would definitely prefer for her to have a headshot added to her kit. And again, bring her damage down. I don't want her to be broken. I just want her to be a little more fun and allow you to make that kind of play, right? Especially for this character that is so mobile. Oh my God, so mobile and can do you know, so many things on her own. Actually having a real effect on the game that is like tangible, that is not just enabling your teammates and helping them do more damage and more healing, I think is where she would kind of struggle. I feel like I would want her to do one more thing on her own to really round out this character, right? But that's it. That is Space Ranger Juno. I've got to get used to saying Juno. It's kind of messing with my brain that they ended up using her like actual character's name instead of like the code name. But yeah, again, I'm very positive. I am really happy with how this character turned out, especially with the recent supports that we've been getting. You know, I think this is definitely, I like Kiriko a lot just because I think she's really fun, but you know, this might be the best support that they've added so far in terms of design and balance and all of that. I think Kiriko is so far more fun, but I've mastered Kiriko much more than I've mastered Juno because Juno just got here. So kind of like apples to oranges. But that's it. Let me know what you think about Juno. I'm actually going to release a video sometime this week talking about theory about how you want to play this character, what's going to go well with this character. So be on the lookout for that. I'll be streaming it on Tuesday as well. But yeah, that's it for me. Please let me know what you think about this character. Leave a comment, like, subscribe, any of that good YouTube stuff. It does help me out at the end of the day. Also, I stream on Twitch Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. This one was not streamed because I did this on Sunday when I got back from the weekend. But otherwise, there's always something for me to talk about with you guys. And if you want to send me any hot takes, character ideas, rework ideas, join my Discord down below. We can also just talk about general Overwatch instead. Thank you very much. Thank you guys very much for watching. Have a good day.